Wow, we just finished an amazing Padsplit event today here in Winter Park, Florida, where we got top panelists on the panel speaking about Padsplit, and I was able to be one of them. We were able to give back to hundreds of people, not only just you guys watching, but the people who attended live today got to learn more about Padsplit. Before you go on any further, make sure you like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, and if you're looking to become a Padsplit host, check the description below. I'll see you guys on the other side.
So for everyone that made it today, again, thank you so much for being here. It really means a lot. Just so you guys know, we did sell out this event, and then we oversold the event. Today's going to be great. We have a wonderful group of panelists here. We have amazing sponsors that will help you be successful in Padsplit, and then we also have our Padsplit experts here in the room, Ray and Oriana, and then we have Katie McGinnis and New Beginnings Title Company as well. She was checking you guys in. So we are all here today to answer any questions or concerns that you can have about Padsplit. I'm going to start off with introducing our sponsors so that you guys can know who we have in the room. So right here to the left, we have Joe Siegel with My Land Trustee. He is our wonderful attorney along with Rick, his marketing director, and he will be able to answer any legal questions that you may have. Then we have McGowan and Wagner. Over here are two wonderful men. They have a contract, they are contractors, and they're experts in Padsplit. And then in the back we have Next Door Photos, Dave. He is our Padsplit photographer, so he knows exactly what your photos need to look like in order for your Padsplit to be successful on the platform. And last we have PMI Property Management, and they manage Padsplit properties as well, so they know how to take care of your property. I'm going to introduce myself. Hi everyone, I'm Kelly. I work with New Beginnings Title Company. I am the marketing director. I am sitting here today because I also own co-living spaces as well, so I'm very familiar with it, and I also hold my real estate license, so I understand the process of acquiring a Padsplit and how it works. In the back, we have Oriana. She is our expert host, and we have Ray, who is her lovely partner in crime. All right, they are not only senior national account executives in Padsplit, but they also have 47 Padsplit doors themselves. They have serviced over 500 investors, and they have onboarded over 1,500 Padsplit units nationwide. Alrighty, and now we're going to introduce our amazing panel here. So we're going to start off with Alex Quesada. Please raise your hand. Say hello.
Hello, hello.
Alex Quesada has over $50 million in his real estate portfolio. He has multiple seven-figure wholesale businesses on autopilot, which is phenomenal. And he has raised over $30 million of private money. Next we have Javier Paredes. Say hello.
Hello.
He is the CEO of Be Bold Investing. He also was in the $1 Million Club Gold Award Aura recipient. And he's a seasoned buy and hold real estate investor and short-term rental expert. We have Jeff Willer,
That's me.
owner of Coast to Coast Mortgage, and has closed over $2 billion in mortgages. He has rehabbed over 200 houses, and he owns 87 Padsplit doors. Next we have Drew Oquendo, author of The Negotiator's Edge, United States Marine Corps combat veteran to real estate operator and mentor, and has a $5 million real estate portfolio under his belt. And last we have David Buckles. He has completed over 200 investment deals, has 34 Padsplit doors, and his entire business model is built with private equity. Professional, amazing people up here that are going to give us the keys to success for Padsplit. So our first question, we're going to start off over here with Drew, and we're going to go down the line. And we want to know, what are you currently doing in real estate today?
So that's a loaded question because there's a lot in real estate to do. Right now, my girlfriend and I work together in our business, and we run a wholesale business, which is a seven-figure business. I didn't add it to the list. We do 6 figures a month in that business. We have a mentorship called Closers Academy, which I teach people how to be closers. I'm called Substitute Drew also. So I do a lot of Closers Academy where I teach people how to close deals like I do. I got a gift for closing. It's not really a gift. I had to work for it really hard. I've been doing it for a long time. So specialize in closing creative transactions and negotiating with sellers and everything in between. And that business feeds the wholesale business, our JV with all the mentees in the program. So we're doing that. So our primary exit is Padsplit. I feel like that's our way out of the rat race. The tagline, obviously you guys might know, is multifamily returns on single family properties. I love that. So that's our bread and butter. This year we're actually focusing on keeping our liquidity up. Because last year we had a little challenge of buying too many properties, obviously with other people's money, which is always great, but liquidity became an issue. So that's why we got heavy into wholesale. So this year we'll be focusing heavy on wholesale, but still picking up a few Padsplits here and there.
Well, on a personal note, I'm adding 17 doors on Padsplit in the next 10 days. Closing on Monday on a flip, and also closing another Padsplit purchase and a piece of land that's also going to be a new build, a new construction build.
Amazing.
And then, oh, here we go.
New construction for Padsplit?
Not sure yet, actually, but it's going to be a new build. It'll probably be a new construction for Padsplit. It's going to be adjacent to two other Padspits I have.
Nice.
As far as on the lending side, as you all know, I'm in a mortgage company. On the lending side, we're opening up some private funds for individuals who are looking for down payment money. So we're working up some private money lending for down payment assistance for people looking for down payment money. So that is on that forefront. And we're opening up some new products as well for some additional Padsplit lending.
All right, so we have several real estate businesses. We have a wholesale operation. My brother mostly runs the day-to-day of that business. We do like 20, 30 deals a month. From there, we source and we buy from other wholesalers as well. We buy flips and creative finance deals for long-term hold with an emphasis on Padsplit. But my focus is self-storage. So we purchased our 11th self-storage facility this year, looking to buy 5 more. I have tons of money for storage deals, so if you have any storage deals you come across, let me know. That's our main focus. We also have a coaching group where we coach people who are brand new, and then we also have another group where we coach people who are trying to scale up their business.
What's up, guys? So my primary focus right now is buying a creative deal via seller finance and subject to add into my Padsplit portfolio. Every time I take down a deal, it depends on what bucket I want to put in. One of my main buckets that I'm focusing on is Padsplit. I have several businesses, and a lot of them are very well oiled, and that gives me a lot of time to spend, allocating toward, building and buying and holding into my portfolio. So I have a listing sales company that we do about $10 to $12 million a year. I have a short-term rental property management company, and I also have a short-term rental portfolio with 17 doors on it. My short-term rental portfolio is all luxury Airbnbs, and right now I'm scaling into Padsplit. I'm up to 23 doors, and everything that I've done is bought subject to or seller finance. So that's my primary focus. I also have a community called Be Bold Investing. We're up to 61 members, and the reason why I've created this community is because I want to bring a lot of people into it, help them out, understand, buying deals creatively. Not only that, we all, this rooms like this is where empires are built, right? So helping each other out, building capital, property management, contractors, like a community is where you build an empire. So that's one of the reasons why I built that community, to help other people out in the community. So those are my primary focuses, but my primary focus is buy and hold right now.
So we were fix and flippers for a long time, and that was my only focus. We started wholesaling, and I was like, no, I want to keep all of that money, right? And so I just flipped, and then 2022, when the rates skyrocketed, right, from what we were all used to. I was like, wow, flipping houses got a lot harder. And so over the last 18 months, it's been a lot harder to flip these houses. And then I met Ray and Oriana about a year ago, and was like, wait, this makes a lot of sense. So I said, let me get out of what I'm dealing with now, and I'll worry about it. I'll get into it. Well, then, if you guys remember when rates almost hit 8% last year, right, September, October, I had 6 or 7 deals in the pipeline that were flipped. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to keep all these. And so that's how I got my Padsplit started, was I just changed them all into Padsplits. And so now we have 9 rental properties, and we're about to be at 40 doors. So we have 2 properties getting onboarded today, and then another 6-unit property being onboarded next week. So fingers crossed, we can keep our acquisitions rolling, but we're basically doing buy 2, flip 1 right now. We got to keep the cash coming in with the flips, but we're really primarily focusing on stacking as many cash flowing doors as we can. And in good locations. That's the other thing. I had a couple scattered out that were doing pretty well, but then I dialed in with 2 really good ones that we're gonna take a normal, $2,500, $3,000 a month rental property and get almost $7,000 a month out of it, but with only 5 bedrooms, not 8, not 9, 5. So we're getting really honed in with this strategy and just trying to really maximize the returns from each property. So that's kind of what our focus is right now.
I want to know, why did you decide to get involved in Padsplit, and what was appealing to you about Padsplit specifically?
Well, nobody works for free, right? That money was looking really cool when you're looking at interest rates, cash flow. I remember when I was getting into real estate, everyone was like, you should keep more houses. And I was like, for $300 a month? For $300, no, I'll stack some cash and then I'll get into multifamily or something. But then when, again, I met Ray and Oriana, they're like, no, listen, you can make $4,000, $5,000, $7,000 a month per house. And even when I borrow money at 10% and pay my private investors, I can ride the cash flow out for 6, 12 months while I need to refi to season those things. And so that's kind of what started, going on in my head was like, I've got to figure out how to keep more money than we're spending, because houses were taking longer to sell, so on and so forth. So it was really about the money for me. It was a great way to maximize my portfolio. Instead of needing 50 units, I need like 10. So I have that already this year, and by the end of this year, just with those 10, we should be like net cash flowing about $15,000 from those 10 properties. So across the average, like you don't get that traditionally, and so that's what really attracted me to Padsplit.
I have a couple reasons why. One of the reasons why for me was, everyone is very familiar with the long-term renting, and that's like the old school model. And if you long-term rent a property, typically you're gonna net, if you're doing good, $200, $300 a month. If you have one major repair happen, you are out of cash flow for the whole entire year. So at that point, you're banking on appreciation and depreciation and, loan pay down and other leverage points. I'm not a big fan of long-term rentals, so I've come from the short-term rental market. And if you're in the short-term rental industry right now, for you to survive and make a lot of money, I've been doing short-term rentals since 2015. You have to have such a unique product. If you don't have that luxury product and you don't have a unique product and you're not really offering experience to the consumer, you're not gonna survive, period. All the properties that I buy right now are via subject to and seller finance, like I said. When I acquire these properties and I put them as a long-term rental, I'm not making any money. So I want to be able to, bank on, making cash flow. Even though I'm locking up properties at 2.5%, 3.5%, upwards of 4.5% interest rate, I know that, Padsplit, I can spread my risk so much wider. Meaning I'm not renting 1, 2, 3 Main Street to one family. I'm renting it to 6, 7, 8 individuals. So if one person moves out, I'm still making money. Just like this week, I had an individual who moved out of the property. Guess what? I'm not worried about that. If that was a long-term rental, I would have to go remarket that property, sit on the market maybe 2.5, 3 weeks, depending how I'm priced, depending on the location, depending how the property looks. Well, guess what? I have all these other members, 6 other members in that one property paying me. So I'm not sweating it at all. You know what I mean? So being able to spread that risk a lot wider on that one property is super appealing to me. Obviously, the returns as well are awesome as well. And not only that, we get to help out the local community. Affordability is very tough right now. Groceries are expensive, gas is expensive, everything is so expensive. So I see a huge market for this, and that's what really, really got me into Padsplit.
Seller financing is what I focused on, subject to seller financing, to get better cash flow. Because when you're paying higher interest rates, the only way you get good cash flow is to have lower interest rates and take over those terms, or create your own terms. With Padsplit, it's more like multifamily income based on the residential property. So you can have less properties. I like to buy nicer properties in nicer areas. I've been buying real estate 10, 12 years ago. So I've been selling all my junk that has better cash flow because it's in a shittier area. So I have more cash flow, like people who buy houses in Arkansas and all those areas. They buy it there because there's greater cash flow. You buy a house for $80,000 and your rent's $1,200. But I don't want those areas because more problems with those type of clients and whatnot. So I like nicer areas, and you can have nicer houses in Orlando that cash flow. You can't really buy any house that cash flows well in Orlando. You can't, they don't cash flow. So the only way you can do it is you have to buy creative deals or do Padsplit. And the income on Padsplit is very great. I have 17 short-term rentals, and the people who actually make the money are the managers. They do good, but managers all make all the money. I'm like, damn, I got to bring this in-house and manage it myself because my manager's killing it. He's making 15 grand a month, and I'm fucking, I got to pay repairs and fix furniture and all this shit. So managers really make the money, but on Padsplit, you actually get true cash flow, and it's a big difference compared to long-term rental, short-term rental, or anything else. Padsplit is definitely my main focus. But for me, I only want to buy them creatively because I want to maximize my cash flow on those.
For me, I came from a large background with long-term rentals, and so I had a lot of long-term rentals that were making, a couple $100 a month. And then I had quite a few Airbnb short-term rentals, about 20 of those or so. And short-term rentals, the biggest difference was the income taxes. With short-term rentals, I mean, you're paying almost like 35% in taxes every month because the county wants the taxes, Airbnb's taking out all these taxes. I mean, everybody's getting taxes, everybody's making money but you. Your property manager's making 20% or more. So it's like everybody's making money but you, the owner. So I quickly wanted to convert a lot of my Airbnbs, short-term rentals, into Padsplits. Because number one, it's a long-term lease, so you're eliminating your county taxes right off the bat, which is 7% right there. You're eliminating the massive 20, 25, 30% taxes that your property manager's making. If you have a property manager now, you're way, way lower in cost. So that was a huge benefit of doing that. Secondly, I believe he said when you have to evict somebody on a long-term rental and you have to kick them out, that might take 90 days. They may take them 2 months, they may not make payment this month, and you might give them 30 days to get caught up, you feel bad for them, whatever. And then the next month they still don't pay, and you're okay, I'll give you 15 more days. Okay, now you haven't paid me 45 days, okay, I have to evict you. So now you start the process, and now it's 90 days, now they're finally out, and now they get mad at you because you evicted them, so now they tear up your house. So now you got $7,000 in repairs, so now you're out 15 grand, and now you've got to find somebody to move into it after you fix it up, so now you're 20 grand out, and now you rent it out and you make $100 a month. That's a bad deal, right? So with Padsplit, like he said, if 1 or 2 people move out, hey, that's great. 5 or 6 people are still paying your mortgage and you're still profiting 20%. Darn, you're down from 40% to 20%. Sheesh. What a bad thing, right? So, and then the last thing that I like is that, let's say you have 100 doors, right? How many of you can go out and buy a 100-unit apartment building? None of us. I can't go do that, right? 100-unit apartment building, what's that going to cost you? $6 million, $10 million, $15 million? Depends on where you're buying, right? What's your down payment on that? 30%? How many can go write a check for $3 million right now, right? But with Padsplit, that's like 12 to 15 houses, right? You can pick those off one at a time, right? So I mean, it may take you a few years to get there, but you can pick the neighborhoods you want. You don't have to go buy them all in one location like a big 100-unit apartment building. You can buy one here, buy one there. Maybe you've got 3 or 4 rentals now, you can just convert them, right? You don't have to do it all at once, but having a 7 or 8 room Padsplit or a 4 or 5 room Padsplit, that each room is like an apartment building because each one's going to pay $200 a week or give or take, right? So that's $800 a month, $1,000 a month. So each one of those is like having an apartment building, an apartment unit. So that's what the Padsplit is like. It's having apartment size return. So the more doors you have, it's like the more units you have. It's like having a 10-unit apartment building, a 20-unit apartment building, a 30-unit apartment building. Try going and buying one of those in the regular market.
I agree with everything they said. Just to add on to it and then reiterate, it's the way out of the rat race for a common guy like myself, and most of us here, right? Like you were talking about, getting together, you got to get a big group of people to go buy, one of these big 100-unit, properties. Unless you're just swimming in cash like that, which I'm not. So this was the way to get out of the rat race, and then also the way to acquire more properties, right? So I specialize in creative financing, so subject to seller financing, all of that stuff, right? And this is a way where we can buy deals that don't necessarily make sense for the long-term investor, right? The long-term rental investor or any of the other types of investors. It's definitely, the whole cash wholesale deal is not working, right? This is where we can get into it and we can make this specialized exit actually do something for us, right? So the competition is weeded out. So it's easier access to deals. So I don't always have to take that deal to the finish line and close on it myself. Like I said in the intro, we're doing a lot of wholesale this year to get our liquidity back up. So if I can structure those deals for one of these guys here, or any of you guys looking for deals, it's perfect. It's a win for everybody. And I have Padsplits myself, so I know what it takes, so you're not getting that half-ass, analysis and saying, hey, you can Padsplit it. These numbers are accurate, so that's the biggest reason. More deals, more access to deals.
So by a show of hands, who has converted a current property into a Padsplit? Okay, and how many of you have just gone to buy a property and then you convert it into a Padsplit? Oh, my next question is gonna be for Alex. And Alex, what criteria do you prioritize when acquiring a Padsplit? So what does your buy box look like?
So I would want it to be in Orlando, Tampa, better areas, minimum ARV of 300,000. I prefer a three bath, so I can maximize the bedroom count and get like 6 beds or maybe 7 beds if it allows. That's my preferred method. Otherwise, I think sometimes, and I want to buy with creative finance. Like I'm a little bit picky. I don't want to buy a house, renovate it, refinance, pay 7-8% interest. Because you don't get the other, even though it's good cash flow, you don't get the other benefits of real estate when you're paying 8%. The principal pay down's nothing. And so, you know, for me, I want to just buy creative finance deals. We can structure them, and there's plenty of deals out there. You just got to go find them, create them. So I want to only buy creative finance deals. I might not be able to get to 80, 90 rooms as quick as possible, but my deals are like going to be home runs. Like, so if I can buy creative finance deals, we just bought one in Tampa with seller financing at 0% interest. Like, and it's gonna cash flow 2-3 grand. So like that deal is gonna crush.
It may not be as fast, but sometimes slow and steady wins the race. So with that being said, David, how did you go from 1 to 3 to 10 properties?
Well, like I said, I had a fat pipeline of flips already. So when I literally just made the decision to convert it from a flip to a Padsplit, I had enough flip juice at the time to where we could afford it. And that's why I made the decision, and it went from 0 to 100 real quick.
So how many of you have acquired by creative financing? All right. How many of you have used investor lending or investor loans? And how many of you have raised private capital to acquire these properties? All right, so as you guys can see, there's several different routes and avenues that you can take besides your typical loan, right? So Padsplit has many, many different opportunities and options for you. So, you know, you don't have to cancel out the possibility of being able to acquire your first Padsplit. So Jeff, what are you currently doing in your Padsplit that you attribute your success to as a host?
For me, I try not to put a bunch of people in one house. I know a lot of people like to have 10 rooms, and that's fine. Every strategy is different. I try to keep mine so that my neighbors don't hate me.
It's a great strategy.
That's important.
Ideally, I mean, I've got a couple of them that are 8 rooms, but the houses that I have that are 8 rooms, the location allows it. There's good distance between the neighbors, vacant lots on the sides of the houses. Most of my houses are 6 rooms.
Okay.
So that's kind of key for me, because I like the neighbors to not be too upset. What I find is when you have a lot of, you just don't want neighbors to be upset with you. But as far as inside the house, I like to put amenities inside the houses. I like to have larger rooms. I find that larger rooms bring higher rents. If you have somebody in a small, 8x10 prison cell, so to speak, with no amenities, that they may not stay as long as somebody that might be in a 10x12 room.
Okay.
So if you have a little bit larger of a room, you're gonna have a little bit longer of a stay from personal experience. I also like to put televisions in all of my rooms. I mean, even a little 32-inch or a 42-inch television, it might set you back $100 or $150. But those TVs last. You mount them on the wall, they don't disappear. I mean, you might lose a remote control, but I just buy the Walmart little on televisions. If they lose the remote, they're $9. And if you have the Walmart Plus app, they'll deliver it to the door for like $15 for within 4 hours.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Come on. So it's not a problem. And so and we'll bring the batteries too. So so anyway, so to me that's a big benefit. And then on some of the rooms that are some of the nicer rooms, like if I have a suite or something that's really really far away from the kitchen, I'll put a mini fridge in. And so when I do that, I don't buy the single door mini fridges anymore. I buy the double door, like a freezer on the top and a refrigerator on the bottom. And the reason why is because the single door ones, they tend to freeze over. And when they freeze over after 3 or 4 months, you have to take them outside and have them thaw out for a couple of hours, and otherwise they'll melt into the floor. So make sure if you get one of those, you get a double door one. But those are some of the things that I do. I put artwork up, I put mirrors inside all the bedrooms. That way if there's a lady there, she can do her makeup inside the room. She's not going to be in the bathroom doing it and making everybody else upset.
Okay.
Little things like that to make things a little bit more easier for the people living in the house and more friendly to everyone.
Of course, it makes a big difference, and something I always like to say is, you want to create a space that you would be willing to move into, like Javier had to do at one of his Padsplits. So you want to make sure that your space is nice, it's comfortable, it's inviting, and that someone wants to stay there, right?
I also want to add to what Jeff is saying. So our statistics internally from Padsplit has shown us, as we've grown, we've been listed now for 7 years, and we're in a 2.0 evolution right now. So TVs were not a thing now. They were not a thing 3 years ago. TVs is almost like a standard now for a lot of our hosts. And it's proven over and over again that the bedrooms that are 8 by 10 are the ones that turn the most, are the ones that have the highest vacancy. So sometimes it's probably better for you to have 6 comfortable rooms over 10 very small bedrooms. When you run your numbers and you're active in the property, you're probably going to have such high vacancy that you think you're going to capitalize so much because you have 10 bedrooms. That property will perform maybe as a 6 bedroom. So there's so much value in creating value for the members because we are here to create longer tenure ultimately. It really means less turnover for you. When somebody's already used to a Padsplit, they're going to want to make sure that the new member that comes in complies with all the rules in the house as well. So all these things are important for you to keep in mind, right? A mirror. A lot of people don't think about a full-size mirror, right? We ladies, we might take some time, and gentlemen as well. So decongest the bathrooms, add those small things, $15, $20 more, but it really will show in your performance in your property.
Awesome, thank you, Ariana.
Can I ask you a question about pools?
Pools. Florida, notorious about pools, right? Statistically, we don't have a performance that says pool homes perform better. We already have properties that are with pool homes, specifically here in Orlando, actually, and they're performing very well. It's more knowing that there's an additional liability because now you have a pool. And there's additional maintenance, right? And there's additional things that could potentially occur, so understanding the X factor of liability. But not that it will add more dollars to the rooms, per se, yet.
Most people believe everyone will fight or might not get along in a Padsplit. What have you experienced with that?
Yeah, I haven't experienced that at all, actually, which is cool because Padsplit makes it easy because if they don't like the setup, they'll just move out, It's as simple as that. I've only had one guy come in who his pad mate was reconstructing everything in the kitchen, apparently, pulling out everything in the cupboards and stuff, and it looked like crap when he showed up, so he was kind of pissed, and so there was like an issue there, but it was solved really quick. He just moved out, and never fully moved in. But other than that, no issues. I had one girl move in a Padsplit with like 5 other guys, which was awkward. But she spent the week and then moved out. That was it.
Okay.
So it's all good. Really, there's no fights.
I do have a question on that. Do you have any, do you find any challenges with having women and men in the same place? Do you prefer having all men, all women, or your house?
Honestly, our best one we got right now, the coolest one, is all men.
Something that someone that I met at another networking event that they did is they have a property where both men and women live, and they just simply put a women's bathroom and a men's bathroom, and that really helped out as well.
And I think we're gonna find a balance between the short term and co-living, right? But we're not aiming to be short term, that's not our goal. But finding that sweet balance between affordability, comfortable, and safe is kind of where we're finding the sweet spot.
Javier, what are you doing to set yourself apart from other hosts, and what are you seeing that's most successful?
Uniqueness, like I said, I've come from the short-term rental space, so making your property unique as possible. So, going down even to the mattresses. Like Drew said, he has a prison cells. Like, I don't want prison cells. If you go on Padsplit, you'll notice a lot of hosts, they're not professional. Very bad photos. They have, furniture is pretty much like a black bed and not even any artwork, or there's just no art in their rooms or anything. So making sure that they showcase really well, because you want them, people are shopping with their eyeballs, obviously, right? And they don't get to see the property before they book it. So everything down from the mattress to making sure that it has nice artwork to making sure that, hey, you know what? I didn't just do all black beds in every single bedroom. I did some, colored bed frames, right? Bring some color in there, right? That's also one of the things that I like to do, and just make it unique as possible. What was the second question that you had?
And what are you seeing that's most successful?
Again, for me, I want people to stay. I think the Padsplit statistic is 7 to 9 months for retention. Okay, 8 to 10. For me, I want to make sure that people are there 13 to 15 months. They call this home for a long, long time. So right now that I'm rolling all that stuff through these rooms, and like I see a lot of people are complimenting it because they get an option to. I think Padsplit prompts them to write a review every 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Right. Boom, hey, write a review. What do you think about this place? So you can see what they're rating your property. And when I got my first, when I did my first Padsplit, I actually got involved and I wanted to see why people booked my property. I wanted other statistics other than what Padsplit, right? So I can have one up on other hosts. Hey, why'd you book my property? Was it because of bus stops? Was it because of the way I had the room decorated? So, and then paying attention to those reviews that you're getting because that's super important as well. So just seeing what the insight from the consumer standpoint is and understanding that as a host.
Definitely, and I think it's important to do things right from the beginning because that will definitely make people want to stay longer. And when you take care of your property and they see that you care, you're going to get those people to stay.
Yeah, I also want to add one thing as well. When I'm putting up walls, I'm soundproofing my walls. Like, you can get with these construction guys, we're offsetting those 2x4. Like, we want to make sure that these things are soundproof, especially if they're next to another room. Like, we don't want someone to have their TV up, or watching YouTube or creating a lot of noise. That's also going to, affect your occupancy rate as well. So we're making sure that we're making sure these rooms are soundproof. Like even around the outlets, like they sell these little things, and they could probably answer that a little bit better than I can. But that's one other step that I'm taking and spending that couple extra bucks to make soundproof rooms.
That's awesome. Yeah, but like the bedroom and the dining room right next to the kitchen?
Yeah.
That would,
Correct.
prone to a lot of noise.
Yeah, so I'm doing that with all the walls that I'm putting up. We're soundproofing the walls.
Next question is for Alex. How do you furnish your bedrooms?
Oriana connected me with a guy, Paul in Jacksonville, and he literally comes in and takes care of everything for me. All the other stuff, we have like a list we created on Amazon where we just, everything for the locks, all the SKUs are there, all the links to the
system's there.
Yep, so it's just click and order of how many. And then we'll ship it to like my house or our office, and then we'll take it to the property. Yep, but that Paul guy's been good mattresses. They're looks good. We furnish them. We try to make them look as nice. We don't put art on the walls. We'll start doing that probably. Start putting TVs on the walls. But Paul, and then just Amazon.
And Paul was supposed to be here with us today, actually. I'll tell you, Paul has furnished my Padsplits, David's Padsplits, Jeff's Padsplits, Alex's Padsplits. He knows what he's doing right now, right? Like, he has an entire business for Padsplit. He is doing a delivery this week for a property in Michigan. Like, he is already going nationwide.
Wow.
He understands the product.
Alex, and also wanted to add to that question, how do you create that privacy? What type of locks do you have on your doors? What's the easiest?
So we buy these ones that are punch locks, and they're pretty easy to change for the cleaners to change the codes. And I can like send that link to Oriana. I think I sent them to her. She's like, oh, I've never seen these ones before, but they're cheap and they're easy to change the locks and easy to code in.
Automatic system, so it's not something that you have to go every time, make new copies of keys.
Yeah, no copies of keys, no. It's all punch code.
Jeff, what are your best practices for your listing photos?
Well, my brother actually does all my photos for me. And as far as listing photos, he actually does this really cool thing where on the main photo, he has this little red triangle that he puts on the cover photo. And he always puts, all rooms have a smart Roku TV. And if it has a mini fridge, he'll put a mini fridge on there. And so that always catches the eye when you're scrolling through, looking at all the main houses, and all of a sudden, boom, there's this giant red triangle, and it mentions, you've got a smart TV in the room. So it's like, whenever you scroll through Jacksonville rooms, you'll see my room stand out. I mean, you can tell it's my room because it's got a giant red triangle on the corner of the picture, on the main picture. So you just look through, you'll know it's my room.
Jeff started this super cool trend with his photos, and so many other hosts are like, I want that. I want what he's doing. Like, why do I do that? So it's such an open Canva that you can do so much creative stuff.
And then we take like a picture of our digital door lock so you can see what kind of door lock you're gonna have. But the main thing is just having lots of pictures of the room. So we take a picture of every angle of the room so that people can see all corners of the room, they can see exactly what they're getting. And then we put a sketch of the layout of the house. So you can see, hey, I'm in room number 1, okay, here's where the restroom is, here's where the kitchen's at.
Okay.
You know, so that way if somebody, you know, has to go to the restroom multiple times during the night, they know they're not like a long distance away from where the restroom's at. Or maybe they're that person that gets up for the midnight snack, they know where the kitchen's at. You know, they know what they're getting. You know,
Awesome.
they can see the sizes of the rooms, the dimensions of their room. They know that, hey, this is an 11 by 14 room. You know, they can see the dimensions. So they know exactly what they're getting before they show up in their room.
How often do you check your properties outside of cleaning the room? And when there's a member that's leaving?
Yeah, great question. So when a member leaves, obviously we'll send somebody down there, do a quick room turn. We've actually started implementing move-out photos so that we can just one less step if we need to, right? If it looks crazy, then we need to go with supplies. We can do that. But recently I sent Rachel, Rachel's our project manager. She helps with all of our Padsplit setups. And just like 2 weeks ago, we brought on a couple new properties and we had some higher vacancies with like 1 or 2 people in each property. And I was like, hey, listen, this was when all the squatters, remember when the squatters, TikToks and stuff was coming online a couple weeks ago? I was like, hey, do me a favor. Can you run by these houses, make sure all the doors are locked, make sure they're closed, check the windows, like let's just make sure. And so she did that, we hit it, everything was fine, all the members were happy. But recently just started implementing the cleaners. So I have the cleaners going in once a month, taking before and after photos. And the one house we have in Kansas City was just a disaster. I'm like, holy shit, like there's 5 people in the house and it's 1,000 square feet. This is one that we literally just ripped the walls down and reframed the whole thing. So it's a little bit tighter quarters. It's the shoebox prison cells, but it's in a neighborhood that kind of permits it, so it's a little more acceptable. But yeah, I think we're going to end up finding that we're going to have to visit these properties a little more frequently just to maintain the cleanliness or just the comfortability and livability of it. So that's one thing that we are going to be implementing more of.
Awesome, and I will tell you, one of your best friends will be your cleaning company, or your cleaning lady, your cleaning person. My cleaning lady, she comes every 2 weeks, and she is the biggest snitch on this planet.
Let me get her number.
Okay.
I need some snitches.
She will be like, Kelly, so-and-so is leaving this, is leaving that, and she sends me pictures, so I know what's going on all the time in the property. So your cleaning company is going to be your best friend in Padsplit.
The advantage also with Padsplit, guys, you can walk up your property whenever you want to. If it's a long-term tenant, you cannot just walk in when you want to. If it's a short-term tenant, you can't either. You can go as many times as you want to your property because you have access to all the common areas. So of course, you want to be courteous and let your member know that someone's accessing the property, within the next day. But you can go as many times as you want. That's something that you are not able to do with any other strategies, and it allows you to maintain your asset better and keep an eye on what's happening internally.
When you say, let them know, if we're turning a room, do we have to let everybody else know
No, not
that
at all.
someone's coming
If
in?
you're turning a room, there's no need for it.
Okay.
But more like if you're bringing a cleaner, hey, cleaners will be there Thursdays or something like that. You can do like a broad message to all members through the platform.
Yeah, and you can also always say, hey, cleaners come, if you would like for them to clean the room, it's an extra cost. What can others learn from your journey?
So I'm a guy who just gets it done. Right? I come from the Marine Corps, so you scrap, you get it done, right? That's right. But that's it. Look, actually, the real lesson, you said it earlier, slow and steady wins the race. Because we ran to get these properties up, and that caused a lot of issues we got to deal with now to stabilize these things, right? So doing all the cute stuff that these guys are doing, nice and slow, actually putting care into the property, that's something I want to implement, like, this year, second half of this year, moving into next year when we start building again. So that's it, really, just slow down and just stabilize and move on, get it done, do the work.
Yeah, like I said before, I mean, just get it done right the first time, then you don't always have to come back and change this or add on this and fix things, so, just take your time. The last question will be for Javier. What has the experience been like so far as a Padsplit house?
It's been amazing, to say the least. Like, at all my properties, one of the ways we keep eyeballs on our properties on the exterior, we have Ring cameras. So you can kind of see how these members are interacting. Obviously not inside the house, but outside the house. So I gotta say that the quality of the member that is booking these property is really high quality. One thing I do notice sometimes, being that Padsplit's a very new concept, some of these members do not understand, like, hey, I can't have my son over, or I can't have a girl over, or a guy over. So one of the qualifying questions we ask when they go to inquire about the property, we have, a sequence of qualifying questions. Hey, have you read the membership agreement? Do you understand the membership agreement? Do you understand this bedroom is just for one individual only? Do you understand you can't bring furniture? So we have a sequence of questions to kind of mitigate that. So once I started seeing that happen, I created an SOP right away. I was like, oh, this is not gonna happen again. Because one guy, he booked a room on one of my properties, and then he started having his hoochie mama over, right? Like, that's not gonna work, right? So, but it was okay, because he understood, and he vacated the property, but he didn't understand. I noticed also other people have a vehicle and they don't register it. Another qualifying question, do you have a vehicle? Do you intend on having a vehicle? So it sets expectations for myself. So, but the member experience overall has been fantastic. The quality of them is really good. I think you guys are doing a lot of third-party vetting through the companies that you guys are using, and it's really bringing really good quality member in my opinion so far. I haven't seen any fights or any disputes or anything where I'm like, man, I hate this guy that's living there or anything like that. So I'm really happy with the quality of member thus far.
And to add on to that question, how was your experience staying in your own Padsplit?
Well, I didn't, so before Padsplit came along, years ago when I first got it started in my journey, this is years and years ago, I rented a bedroom off Craigslist. So, I was paying $400 a month. So I know what it feels like to be on the consumer side. So I had to share rooms for many years with roommates. So I know what it is, like the guy doesn't do the dishes, or hey, Johnny's a little loud, or room one, stuff like that. So this is one of the reasons why this business model resonated with me, because hey, I can give back. I was in that position at one point,
So now we are going to go into our Q&A session.
So my question is, I'm a realtor, and as a realtor, what can I do searching people who are selling houses to help you guys find the right Padsplit to fit your needs? Such as, are you looking for the roof being a certain age? Are you looking for the AC units being updated? What are you looking for when you start looking for properties?
What we call is a bird dog. So I have a lot of people, like for instance, I don't go direct to seller. I work with people like Jose. He's out prospecting all day long, right? For instance, he knows my buy box. So when he has a deal, he brings it to me. I don't have time to sit there and call people all day long. He's got a team that he's assembled to do that. So for you as the realtor, why don't you get with several investors who are looking for pad splits, understand their buy box, and being that you're a realtor and you have MLS access, start looking for these expired listings or canceled listings, failed listings, because these realtors don't have the tools in their tool belt to be able to sell that property. So they need someone like you to be able to lock it up on terms to be able to sell and dispo that property to someone like us. So start getting with Padsplit investors, get their buy box, and then now you can start prospecting specifically and honing in on our buy boxes, and then you can make an assignment fee or whatever that fee is.
It wouldn't be essentially repairs of the roof and AC. We would need to know that information to see what kind of costs are gonna be involved in fixing up those items. But it's gonna be properties with no HOAs, close to bus stops, close to like activity like jobs and stuff like that. So that's what we're looking for in those areas.
I'd say the other thing is, like, there's a lot of active properties that are sitting and just getting price reduced. You can holler at those properties. My agent John, he found us a deal where the house next door sold for like $320, and I was able to pick up this house that just needed like a roof and some plumbing for like $196. And so that was incredible. It was on the MLS. It wasn't expired. The deals are out there. The deals are absolutely out there. And like you said, the no HOA is probably the biggest thing, because you are going to have neighbors. You're going to have issues with your neighbors, no matter what. Someone's going to be unhappy, so that if you can get out of an HOA, please stay away from an HOA. But yeah, I mean, as far as that goes, like everyone's buy box is going to be a lot different.
Yes, no HOAs. We advise against HOAs. It doesn't mean that you cannot have a property in an HOA community, but we really just advise against it. We already have properties under HOAs, and they're performing well. Until tomorrow, the HOA decides to change their CCNRs and completely vet you. So it's a higher risk. So we just really advise against it. And another good one to look into is rental neighborhoods. We're looking at rental neighborhoods. We're talking about B and C class areas.
Do any of you guys actually like build new units specifically for pad splits, or are you rehabbing only existing homes?
Well, it sounds like Jeff's getting ready to do a new one. And there's actually a lender that I've worked with in the past, and Jeff, I think a lender that we know was coming up with a program for new construction Padsplit, right?
Yes.
So there's a gentleman that came to our first ever Find It Fund It Profit event last year, and he's out of Philadelphia, and he's a big new construction lender. And because inventory is still a problem, right? Affordability is a bigger problem, but inventory is still a problem. So building units to catch up is like not a bad thing. It's just all about the cost of building. And so there's a couple new lenders that are coming out. Something that I'm interested in some of our marketing is we're gonna go back to marketing for dirt, for lots of, because in 2021, when it was really hard to buy and sell houses because people didn't have to put their house on the market because they knew a neighbor who wanted to buy the house for $30,000 more than you wanted to ask for it, right? So when we had in our journey, when it was hard to flip houses, I went and bought a bunch of dirt and sold it to builders who were building houses. And I'm kind of feeling some similar tension in the market right now, and to where I can get my unit count up and control my costs by building it. So it's definitely something that we're considering doing. I don't know if anybody else is.
Yeah, we are too.
Yeah.
I have a question for Ariana. If you were gonna build Padsplits, would you have a common space like living area, or would it just be straight bedrooms and bathrooms?
Up to you. You know, ultimately, the common areas are
Couches,
opportunity areas for conflict. So I would tell you not to furnish that area if you choose to leave an actual primary. By the way, we have already builders that are creating Padsplits from the ground in Texas, in Georgia. And we already have some people here in Florida that are working towards doing the same. So it's already a thing. It's happening already.
It's definitely already a thing. We have a client that we've already met with who is a builder and is going to start creating Padsplit spaces in Tampa.
How do you handle permitting? Or do you permit everything?
Permitting rehabs or permitting?
Permitting rehabs, adding a bathroom, adding walls, is that an issue for you?
If you're adding a bathroom, you should get it permitted. I'm not adding bathrooms. I prefer to have bathroom. I prefer houses that are three bathrooms, because you can maximize the bedroom count. When adding a wall, we're not permitting adding a wall in a bedroom.
Really, the rule is, if you're gonna put a kitchen cabinet up, you gotta get a permit for it. So the issue with permitting is it's gonna slow you down a lot. Then you're gonna have the city and county in your hair. They're gonna start pulling out. It's like opening up a can of worms. So you just have to ask yourself, do you have that time that allows you to have that holding cost, right? So everything for me is a time. I wanna move it through these projects as quick as possible. But again, going back to what I'm saying, is like, they want you to permit putting a new kitchen cabinet up. Like, it's crazy. So that's why you see a lot of flippers don't do it, because it's just a time thing. So I'm not permitting any of my projects. If you're running electrical down a wall, you're supposed to, but it's really up to you and your risk tolerance.
As a follow-up, have you all ran into any issues with that?
I got a shitload of issues with permit it. Just do it. Number one, Jeff will tell you, if you go to Jeff to refi anything, if you add a couple bedrooms, a closet, bathrooms, whatever, and you're getting an appraisal, it's not the same as what the property record says. Like, you'll have issues. Like, you'll end up having some issues. But like I said, you're gonna have neighbors that are gonna be nosy. There's people that are we tape up, whenever we do a renovation, we tape up every window so nobody can come. And we had a neighbor who looked through every window and found it and was able to take a picture, reported us to code enforcement, shut us down. It took 2.5 months. We finally just got our permits cleared again. But the new rule in the state of Florida is this is basically a freedom of information request. So if someone reports you, you can say, give me, who was it?
Yeah.
So I know exactly who reported us. Oh yeah, I know exactly who reported us. And same thing happened. So this is one house here in Ocoee. We have another one in Palm Bay. Then we got popped, and it's taken like 5 months. You just have to deal with it. You're going to go through it. We tried to do it without permits every time we try recently. And it's because they found out we were keeping the house. If we were selling it, they're like, oh yeah, whatever. But every time we say, no, we're going to rent it out. Now they're like, who's my new neighbor? So now they're just causing a little bit of problems. So I would recommend permitting what you can. If you're putting up a partition, you don't need a permit. If you're changing kitchens, bathrooms, just do it. If you're updating plumbing, just do it. Because if you don't, like we said, it's going to cause problems. It's going to halt the project.
And just to add to that, some of the lenders are going to give you a hard time if you're adding square footage without permitting it. So anytime you're going to enclose a carport or a garage, I would get that permitted. You're going to need drawings and plans for the city to approve that. If you don't, you're going to get the famous red tag, which will sometimes set you back months and a lot of money. So I would recommend not even enclosing a carport. Anything exterior that you do, like add windows and doors, you need a permit for that. I mean, I had a problem just changing a front door one time.
Yeah, you need a permit for everything.
I mean, $1,000 fine, literally just changing a front
Yep.
door, because I had a glass door, and somebody broke the door, it was like vandalism. Somebody broke the door on a Saturday, we just put a metal door in its place, and somebody tattled with the city, because we put a metal door up so nobody could go inside the house, and we got a $1,000 fine for it. Because we didn't pull the permit. Well, okay, so we should just board up the door for the weekend, and just, you know, and then Monday go get the permit. You know, we just put a 36-inch slab in its place, and, you know, we got a $1,000 fine over that. But anyway, so pull your permits for your windows and doors. You know, if you're doing anything like electrical and plumbing, I mean, I would recommend pulling your permits for that. You know, anything that's a safety issue or that could cause a safety issue, you know, pull your permits for that. I mean, as far as, you know, drywall repairs and, you know, things of that nature, I'm not real concerned with that. But anything that could be, anything that could cause harm, you know, electrical, plumbing, you know, anything that could cause damage or harm to someone else, you definitely want to pull a permit for that.
A roof that will add value to your property anyways, and it will look good with insurance.
Yeah.
Do that.
Yeah, roofs, definitely.
What you mentioned windows, what about life safety? You guys are creating rooms and existing spaces. Are you putting a window in every bedroom for life safety for egress?
Yeah, you have to have, so you have to have two forms of egress, a window and a door.
Yeah, I know you're supposed to, but you guys are doing that?
Of course.
So it's a Padsplit requirement for every bedroom to have 2 egresses.
I don't go crazy with my Padsplits. I mean, I try to use existing rooms that are there, so I don't try to like add windows in all these places. I try to use rooms that have existing windows already, because I don't like to change the outside of the house a whole lot. I like to keep my houses as factory as possible. So I try to put walls and arrange my rooms so that I don't really have to change the whole house a lot.
Yeah.
And something also that I like to do with my clients as an agent, I understand Padsplit, so I know when a property is useful as is efficient as a Padsplit or not, based on how everything is pretty much set up in the property as well. So that's something to keep in mind when you are looking at these properties. You don't want to add windows. Is this really a Padsplit?
Another thing I wanted to add, when you work with Ray and myself, because we will be your account executive, you cannot onboard a property and Padsplit without working with me or Ray. So, number one thing, you have to use us in order for you to be qualified, or else the platform will not allow you to onboard. If you have a property, you will walk it with us. We will walk it together, and we will help you maximize the space. We are your consultant. That costs you no money. So use us. I mean, get all these ideas from these great guys, but ultimately, you still need to work with us. So if you have a property that you need to walk, we'll walk it with you, we'll instruct you, we'll show you how to maximize the best. And then with a great contractor, like these gentlemen over here, they'll tell you also how to do it better. Because they're gonna tell you on the rehab side, what is the best way to go about it.
As far as pricing, how do you justify or dictate like what pricings are going to be for what room, or how does that go about?
I have some 2 cents here. I go on the Padsplit's site and use that as like a comping tool, and then from there you can kind of, if you're gonna do the fancy stuff that these guys are doing, you can kind of make a educated guess on what you're gonna, if you're gonna try to go for a little bit higher or not. It's just like any comp, you know, it's not 100% solid. It doesn't mean you're always gonna get it, but you got the best shot of getting it if you do the homework. Also too, after you do the onboarding and stuff with these guys, you can put it on almost like a coming soon, and you can test it out. So usually I'll test it out with a higher number to see how much interest I get on it, and then that'll let me know if I can push it a little bit more or not.
So in storage, like every different unit is a product. So 10 by 10 is a product, 10 by 20 is a product. So if you do the comps in the area and see, is there anybody else who actually has a master bedroom available? So like in my one in Maitland, a master comes available, there's nobody else who has a private bathroom, jack the price up. So you can adjust the price like dynamic, they call it in storage dynamic pricing. So I can adjust the price up because nobody in this 10-mile radius or all of Orlando has a master bathroom available. So they want the master. It typically, Padsplit might say it's worth $250, $275. Well, maybe I'm gonna try $300, $325 and see if I can get somebody who can book it. And then if it doesn't book in a couple of days, you can adjust down, you can adjust down, you can adjust down. But that's the way you can maximize somebody. Because the same way with storage, common people stay there like 14 months. So if you get somebody at $325 instead of the typical $275 for 8-9 months, your income and your cash flows drastically skyrockets.
One more thing on that. Price discovery, because there's not a lot of competition. Like this product is still very new in this marketplace. So something for me that I'm doing is when I know that my properties are the only ones in the area, I'm trying to shoot for the moon because there's nothing available. And with that, similar to what he's saying, But another comping tool that we've used is one bedroom. So like you can look at one bedroom apartments, you can look at studios, like you can find these things on the MLS, apartment.com, forrent.com, you can find what those one bedrooms are going for. And then if it's not a master, what I've done, and it obviously doesn't have an efficiency, I've given it about a 30% discount. So if it was an $1,100 a month or $1,100 a month studio, 30% discount, I'm renting that house for like $850, or that room for $800, $850. And it's worked so far. So again, price discovery, pick your price, pick your comp, but like when you know you don't have much competition out there, like you can kind of set some pricing and see how it goes.
Aren't they doing promos now?
Oh, great point. So you can do promotions. So like you set a price, you can give yourself a 10% discount for the first 6 weeks. So you can like bait and market and incentivize people to book rooms. Good point. Yeah, that's also something.
So I was just curious about this. I met with Ray and Oriana about this dinner, I don't know, about a year ago. And in college, I rented a room. It was like 4 of us. We each had a 4-4 bedroom, bathroom. And even though we had our own space, the biggest issue when we'd get a new roommate that come into our apartment is the conflict in the kitchen. And I know there's like different procedures in place that kind of help mitigate and reduce the likeliness of conflict, but how often, is it frequent that there's issues with like cleanliness? Are there rules in place that kind of help this? Prevent it from being like an ongoing issue, like a 3-strike policy? Hey, if you don't pick up after yourself, the other roommates can kind of leave a message on a portal or something and somebody talks to them. Like how does that process go? Because I don't have any.
I think it's yes to all of those things, and they can help you with that.
There is house rules.
Yeah, and you can set house rules, like you can put your house manual together. There was a couple things, like I accepted a guy with an eviction and was like, oh, I'll accept you with an eviction, but I want a security deposit. And I sent him, he said, okay, and we sent a message and Padsplit was able to do that. And so with these different instances, like you can control a lot of that. You can write the house rules, you can put it into your house manual, and they'll tell on each other. Like if it's a problem, they'll tell on each other. Luckily, we haven't had many people telling on each other. We haven't had much issues in the kitchen. Like I said, there was a pizza box left out, pizza on a plate. But like no one's like, hey, this person's super messy. And we haven't had any of that, luckily.
So something that I do at my property, which may be very, very helpful, is I have different dishes for every room.
Yeah.
So like dish colors. Like I have red, I have blue, orange, whatever color. So if red left their dishes in the kitchen or in the sink, everyone knows who red is. So it's less likely that they will leave a mess because they don't want to be the person leaving the mess.
Hi, I'm Fred, my wife Christine, we're in a property management company. We're also investors ourselves for the last 15 years, buy, fix, and flip, buy and hold. We've been managing Padsplit now for a while. We're actually branching out, training other offices nationally, Kansas City, we've done already in other areas. But anyway, as far as the member experience and rules and things like that, there are rules in place. And keep in mind, there's brothers and sisters who don't get along with moms and dads and everything. So it is a little bit of managing, personalities. But as far as the kitchen thing goes, a lot of people Uber Eats, frozen pizza. Half the time on the property, there's no frozen pizza cooking. And think about this: when you have a family, everybody gets up at 7 in the morning, off to school with the kids. You're off, and everybody gets ready at the same time. Padsplit houses, the good thing about it is we have a lot of work from home people who work nights, people who work days, people who work mornings. So the kitchen, you don't have 5 people all at once cooking a meal. And what's nice is we do have some houses that people will cook together, but more often than not, they're off in their rooms. A lot of times they're not eating at the table. And we do have problems with messes, and quickly you can address that by, there is a rating system. There used to be a 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out, but now it's a rating system and members can rate one another. Hey, Johnny's not cleaning these dishes. And then you'll get a notification going, hey, Johnny got a bad rating. And then you can jump on, and within the Padsplit dashboard, you have a chat feature. You can say, hey, Johnny, I know you're leaving the dishes, and can you please work on that? And a lot of times they will. And they have a group chat. A lot of times you don't get involved in that. And you don't get to see that. If something bad happens, Padsplit can pull that off of there if someone's saying something, but you don't get to see the group chats. They can talk amongst themselves. And a lot of times they can handle things like that in-house. But one good thing is to post rules around the house, like, flushable wipes. Everything flushes, not everything goes. So make sure when you have house rules, you can start putting things all around the house. And one thing is house cleanliness. We really bugs, that's where we get most of our bugs in the kitchen. And we do quarterly pest control and things like that. But it's just a note is a reminder to the rules that are in the house. That, you can frame them or laminate them, stick them up. But definitely house cleanliness is something to watch over. And you get that one person that instills. I came from the fire department, so I'm 25 years of co-living, right? So if you go to a station, you get that person who understands cleanliness and pushes that. But if you have people who don't care about cleanliness, and then it passes on to the next person. So try to get that instilled in your house too. Because my cleaning lady, she is my, like you said, the number one friend's eyes and ears and snitch, and they'll go around in the house and they'll tell you who's being clean, who's being dirty, taking pictures, right? So if you see long, red, curly hair, you can go on their photos and you can say, hey, does anybody know who this person is? So there's way to monitor cleanliness, but your cleaning lady will definitely be your eyes and ears. And that's at least one visit per month that you have your cleaning in the common area. So definitely, I always recommend to all our owners, $100 a month. Small expense to know that you definitely get one good cleaning. And again, rules for that, you can set expectations where, hey, room one's gonna mop on Tuesdays or rotate it weekly. Because we're starting to do that now as far as the houses that's not always the cleanest. Then we just start posting rules, hey, it's room one's job to take out the trash, it's room two's job to wipe down the kitchen counters, it's room three's job to sweep or mop. So there's a lot of ways to monitor your cleanliness.
Eviction, it's immediate, right? Like if you guys want on that moment, you guys could say, hey, listen, you guys gotta go, you guys have to give a 48-hour warning. How does that work?
I've done a notice to vacate, but I've asked somebody to leave, but I haven't had to evict them.
Okay.
So someone,
Yeah,
that's as far as I know.
was that notice?
It was easy. It was very easy. The guy was just unruly, just very sassy and kind of mouthing off. And I was like, hey, dude, you gotta go. And he was like, fuck you, okay.
Yeah, it was super easy. I actually didn't have to say anything to him. It was you guys. You guys hit me up, he's not paying, what do you want to do? And then I just said, yeah, let's evict him or whatever, and then that was it. I think it was supposed to come on me, but he ended up leaving at that point, so I didn't have to actually do anything.
So all in all, it's definitely a lot less complicated in the long term. You don't gotta worry about it. There isn't that notification.
We've done evictions, we have 500 rooms you're gonna have, even if you have a 1% factor, we're gonna run into something just because you have so many rooms. So it's basically like a standard, long-term rental eviction. It's pretty simple. If they don't pay, you give them a 3-day notice to pay or vacate. And then if they don't leave, most of the time if someone doesn't pay, they just leave one room. You give them a 3-day notice and off they're gone. They have a great attorney, they understand the whole Padsplit model. You give them a 3-day notice to pay or vacate. If they don't do it, then you start the regular eviction process and it's just like that. And another thing is, if you do want to have a tenant move out, you can, and if they don't want to leave where they're paying weekly, you can just non-renew their lease. And it's a lot faster than a monthly lease. So their lease initially is a month, and then from there, their week-to-week tenancy. So if you just have an issue, you can say, hey, you can be the best tenant in the world in any property and say, we're just not renewing the lease. And it's just a holdover eviction like that. So it makes things a lot easier. It's not complicated. People clear evictions of long-term impacts.
But don't we have a lease with Padsplit? We don't have a lease with that person.
No, so it's a membership agreement, but right now the court's treating it like a lease. And they're not fighting it. We've had a couple people stay to the end of the eviction, but they're not putting up the money to pay to contest because, when you're doing an eviction, they have to put their rent that they feel that they have a reason other than not paying to leave. So they have to put up money in the court that's owed, minus late fees.
But Padsplit, it's like its own ecosystem, right? So like if they jack up with us, like they're not gonna be welcomed anywhere.
That's right. Once you get booted out of the platform, you're out of the platform. You lost your chances to be able to rebook somewhere else. Right? So how much do they want to lose on this? It's a fully furnished room with all utilities included and rent for a reasonably priced amount. So they don't want to risk that. And I wanted to also point out, in Florida total, we have 4 major markets in Florida: Orlando, Tampa, Jackson, Miami, right? We have over 3,000 units total in Florida, and we continue to grow. And in the past 6 to 9 months, we've had 5 evictions. So can it happen? Yeah, it's real estate. But to everyone's point, we do so many things to mitigate that before that you'll see them leaving before you get to the courthouse.
Just think you got a long-term rental and you have that tenant not paying, right? So the risk you worry about them, concrete down the toilet, they're ripping the cabinets off the walls. Well, there's 5, 6, 7, 8 other people living in the house. You're getting the rents from those 5, 6, 7, 8 people. The room that they can ruin is one small little room, which they don't usually do. And then other people in the house aren't gonna let them tear up the house like you would for the long term. So that's the other benefit to having it. Again, very small percentage, but if you ever got to that, those are the benefits of having Padsplit versus long term when it comes to that situation.
How about mobile homes?
No.
We do not allow mobile homes.
Manufacturer different too?
Prefab is good. You gotta remember that people are visually looking at your listing. If your house doesn't look good, or your room doesn't look good, or you're not maximizing the space in that house, you're not making money and they're not selecting your house. So prefab houses are good because they still look like houses, they're just made elsewhere. You're placing it on the land, but ultimately, I have seen
Multifamily, single family, commercial buildings, it's everything that we've converted. No townhomes, no condos.
Okay.
Apartments.
What is the demographic of members with Padsplit? Like, what is your largest demographic? Male, female, age?
I can get the data for you, for sure, before your property goes live, but because you're not gonna wanna neglect or not let people into your property, you do have the option to approve someone or deny someone based off the qualifications that they have to pass in order to be able to find your listing. But then you have that final say to say, hey, I don't want this particular person because this type of job that they might have might not last long in my property. Or, hey, they don't clear the financial qualification by too much, I don't want to run the risk of allowing this member in. But ultimately, it's up to you, if you'd like, to allow people in your property. And at that point, whether you just want to have all guys, you want to have all girls, or you want to wait for a golden girl house, up to you and how long you're willing to wait for your house.
Well, I don't care. I just want to know. So, like, if I know
It's majority
my,
men.
what's that?
For me, it's majority men.
That's what I was thinking. It sounded
I
like.
have a mix.
Okay.
So I've always had like 50-50.
I think it's completely tied to your location. as
Yeah, I
well.
think it
Okay.
depends on the
Right.
location.
But what I will tell you, our biggest age demographic is 25 to 35
Okay.
and 50 plus.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then what's the most that you get per week? Like on any property?
My highest is $280 a week.
275.
And that's with no private bathroom. That's just a bedroom.
275 with a private bathroom.
David?
I'm getting ready to launch 2 this week that are like 325.
Dang.
Okay.
Beat me.
Jonathan?
I think Jacksonville's a smaller market, so I think 249 is my biggest.
Okay.
Don't undersell the
Drew?
market.
225? I'll tell you guys, we have a room for 325.
In Jackson.
In Jacksonville, it's a suite, private bathroom, 325. We have rooms in Tampa and Orlando going for 375 a week. By the way, this is weekly. Miami starts at 300, we're already seeing like 400. Miami, of course.
When you comp for pricing, because I heard you say that you comp with like monthly rates, my experience is that you could get so much more when you break it down by week. Because
Oh, yeah.
then people don't have
They
to-
advertise the pricing weekly or bi-weekly because that's how most people get paid, right?
Yeah.
And so that's how they advertise the pricing, but when you're comping, you're like, okay, I wanna make $1,200, $1,300 from this room. And so then you just back out your weekly pricing or just do the math, right?
But they're also sharing the space where when you're copying against a 1-1, it's their space
Right.
completely.
Yeah.
But then also they have to pay the utilities and stuff like that too. So you might be able to get a little bit more, but really it's their space compared to co-living.
Hold on, let me, I just want to add to that. One of the first things I do is I look at the market overall, like what are studio apartments going for? That's one of my biggest competitors, obviously, because if I'm renting $800 a room, or $800 a month, right, for that one bedroom, which is $200 a week, and they can go out and get a studio apartment for $800 or $825, then, you know, that individual might go that route. So I want to look at that first, you know, and you can get that data, like they said, apartments.com, Zillow, MLS, bestplaces.net. I also look at that as well. But I want to know what the data is in that area. What are 1 bedrooms and what are studios going for? And then I'll price accordingly. Maybe you discount it, you know, 20, 30%, kind of like what David does. So that's my first thing that I look at when I'm pricing my bedroom. And then obviously I'll factor in like what amenities I'm offering and stuff like that. These individuals, obviously, one of the big things is they don't have to put first, last, and security deposit down, right? So that's a big benefit. So if they were gonna go get that studio or that 1 bedroom, they would have to do first, last, and security. They would need 3 times the rent. So obviously the entry to barrier is a lot lower for them to get into these Padsplit rooms. So I'm looking at that as a big statistic depending on what market I'm in.
Transportation, is it a must? And if it is, like, what's the max distance people would have to walk to a bus?
Yeah.
Because we're not Chicago and New York here.
What you're gonna want to be is within, I believe it's half a mile, 20 minute or less walk to a bus stop. You're gonna really want to be near public transportation, but if we're talking about like downtown Orlando or areas where you could walk, then that offsets the need to have like parking spaces. But the further you're away from public transportation, you're gonna want to go ahead. You're gonna want to have more parking spaces. So now if you're in St. Cloud out and it's a little bit more rural, but there's not that much public transportation, then you're gonna want to have more parking spaces to offset the lack of public transportation.
So are there some without public transportation?
Yeah, actually, I'm getting one going. The one in Ray, the one that I'm telling you about, I'm launching in Palm Coast. There's no public transportation. So when I acquire this property, I need to know that I have the parking spaces for this property. So when I looked at it and when I walked it, I was like, okay, this has the adequate parking. But not only that, I also went a little further. I was like, okay, are there sidewalks near the property? So for instance, the way this property is positioned, there's sidewalks leading 2.5 miles to all the major areas where people are working at. So they can ride a bicycle, they can take a scooter, they can walk, etc. And I also have the adequate parking if I need to provide it for all the members. So there isn't any transit in that specific area where I'm in.
How have you dealt with the parking, or have you had any issues?
So if I have like an 8-bedroom, typically I'll allow like 4 to 5 cars to park. I don't want it to look like a car lot, because obviously, like they said, you have neighbors. We've brought up neighbors a few times. If you want to combat that a little bit sooner rather than later, you can always introduce yourself. It really depends on how you present yourself to these individuals who you live next door to. If you come off professionally and say, hey, look, if there's any issues at this property, here's my cell phone number. You call me first. Versus letting them call the county or city that you're in, and then it escalates, and then now they've opened up a can of worms. So, don't make it look like a car lot, but at the same time, you want to have adequate parking depending on, your property.
If I'm purchasing a Padsplit property, or a property I intend to Padsplit, how do appraisers look at that? If I've already divided the room and so forth, how's an appraiser going to treat that property?
So the way that the appraisers look at the property, and realistically, we like to actually talk to the appraisers. So depending upon the area, we have specific appraisers we like to use. So we tend to use a commercial type of product for this. So we can actually talk to the appraiser and let them know, hey, look, when you're looking at the property, this is a 10-room house. What we want you to do is count how many closets are in the house, because it's technically not a bedroom unless it has a window and a closet. So this house here has 6 bedrooms or 6 closets. So we encourage you to count how many closets are there. Most of the investors who work with lenders we work with, they will count up to 6 bedrooms. Some of them will actually don't care how many bedrooms you have. We did a 16-bedroom property once. It had 16 closets. But some of them will only go to 6 bedrooms maximum. So the appraisers, every once in a while they'll walk in and they'll freak out and you gotta get somebody else. But in certain big cities like Orlando, Tampa, Jacksonville, Atlanta, we have specific appraisers we work with that understand Padsplit, and we try to get those same appraisers assigned to the Padsplit properties that we do most work. Those individuals, they look at the properties. Sometimes they will do what's called a cost to cure, and in English what that means is they want to say that, hey, this house has been modified to bring it back to a regular house, to remove these extra walls. The cost to cure that, to bring it back normal, is going to be $5,000. And most of the investor lenders will allow you up to $10,000 to bring back to normal without changing anything on the loan, and they'll just close the loan with that amount. And so most lenders will accept that we work with, and there's about 4 investment partners we work with that will close the loans.
So you have to make sure it's clean when you're done, you're gonna sell it, right? You have to make sure the walls are removed, everything's back to normal.
No. We have specific lenders that will close the loan fully occupied as a Padsplit, fully rented as a Padsplit. So you don't have to worry about knocking the walls out or whatever. I will say though that if you don't have walls up, if it's a regular house, you do tend to get higher appraised values, because sometimes when an appraiser walks in the door and they look at that house, sometimes they'll give you a little bit lower of a value. They sometimes will adjust the value down a little bit because the house is not normal to the market. So sometimes it's better to do the appraisal before you add all of the extra walls. So the way that these loans typically get qualified is, instead of using your W-2s and tax returns, they qualify based on the income the property generates. So the way they'll qualify that income, we have investors that will use Airbnb income on a purchase, like what is the short-term rental income it'll generate. And there's a website called Airbnb, so you can look it up and say, okay, Airbnb looks at Airbnb's income comes in, you know what Airbnb is bringing. Some of them will use long-term rental income, and if it's been rented on Padsplit before, for like the last 12 months, we can actually get a statement from Padsplit that says, this is the income that Padsplit has generated for the property the last 12 months. We're going to use that income to generate it. And basically, they just want to know that the rental income is going to be more than what the mortgage payment is. As long as the cash flows will qualify you to go close loan.
Regardless of it being permitted or not, properly permitted?
Basically, they want to know that there's no added square footage that was not permitted. So like if you have a carport you converted and that was not permitted, they don't want to count that as a value. If you moved walls around inside the house, they don't care about that. But if you added heated and cooled square footage that was not permitted, they do care about that.
Is that any structural oak tree that you do externally, that will count?
Anything that was not heated and cooled before, that now is heated and cooled, that usually becomes a problem, unless it was permitted. Screen lanais, carports, that kind of thing.
If you sell it, long-term ones, and you're determining what price to sell it at, how would you make that decision? Because obviously, it's not like traditional comps, you're looking around the comparables. Like what resources or how would you determine that price?
How would you determine?
If you want to liquidate it later on. Because I know pad splits are meant to maximize cash flow monthly, ideally.
Well, I was going to say, as far as like what sales price would be for the house.
Yeah, just ideally, like obviously, if traditionally, right, single-family residential homes are going to look at the comparables to kind of dictate what to list at. So if you're like in that position where you want to liquidate, what would you do as a strategy to determine a price point for selling?
You still have to sell it at close to what a traditional home is going to sell for. However, a lot of people selling a fully converted Padsplit home will still sometimes sell it a little bit higher than a traditional sale because they're going to include the renovation and the furniture. And a lot of times they're just going to include additional costs in addition to that, knowing that the buyer is going to pay a little bit out of pocket. But there might be some other answers up here. I have not done one of those personally, like me selling one of those, but I have done some loans for people that have done that. Go ahead.
I would say you have to know your buyer, and so you would sell to someone who owns a Padsplit and then know what kind of cash on cash return they're looking for. So if you ask somebody in your buy box, hey, your cash on cash return for a Padsplit's 20% cash on cash return, then you can use the income approach and sell it as, well, this produces this much income, so yeah, the comp say 400, but I could sell it to you for 500 because he's looking for a 20% cash on cash return, and it's a walk-in Padsplit, he doesn't have to do anything, and he's cash flowing. And with all of us, we're not all using traditional income or loans, so maybe he can raise the money with private money, pay his private lender 10%, now he's making 10% on a really an infinite return, but that's a way. So you would want to pretty much sell it to somebody who has experience in Padsplit, or maybe an investor who has cash or capital, private money, because actually we might know like, hey, we can get 20, 30, 40% returns, but somebody else might not know who's a regular landlord that you could be like, sell it on a, hey, this is a 15% cash on cash return, and they're like, oh, that's amazing, and maximize your price even higher. So you really want to know your buyer.
When underwriting it for cash flow with AirDNA data, are you using actual historicals of that unit or just the general AirDNA pro forma data?
So the investors that are underwriting with AirDNA, they're going to use 80% of what AirDNA is using for the last 12 months. So we're going to go to AirDNA, we're going to type in the address, bedroom, bathroom count, and we're going to use 80% of what the last 12 months AirDNA income is on that property. Okay. And then so if it cash flows based on 80% of what AirDNA shows, then if it cash flows with that, then it'll close.
And then when you say 80%, so is that 80% being that that's 80% of what your value is, and then you're doing loan to value off of that 80%, or is
80% of the cash flow. So if you type in 5 bedrooms, 3 baths, based on what the original structure is, not Airbnb, not Padsplit converted to 10 bedrooms, but the original structure was 5 bedrooms, 3 baths, and AirDNA says it'll generate $100,000 a year. Well, they're going to give it a 20% haircut, so now it's $80,000 a year. Okay, so now as long as that $80,000 divided by 12, whatever that turns out to be, what, $600, whatever it is, if that, as long as your mortgage payment is less than that per month, then now that cash flow is you're good.
Got it.
Now the value of the home, we're going to use whatever the actual value prices at for the sales price, 20% down.
I'll give a quick, because we got networked a little bit, and I know we're closing, but quick answer on the sale of a property post Padsplit. If you want to sell a property, you can sell it on MLS as an income producing property. I've seen that with larger funds, and we also have a Padsplit marketplace where you can sell your property as a performing Padsplit on the platform, and it would show how your property was performing in the last year. So there's buyers that are always looking in that marketplace for property.
We do a lot of Wyoming, Delaware, Florida LLCs. Even in Florida, we can hide your name off the SunBiz records. So we can set up your company that's going to be your land trust beneficiary to take all the money through on your pass-through income, but we can also set up another LLC where your anonymity is hidden to act as your operating company on the side to collect all the income, all the rents and income coming in. Somebody you know has IRA funds that they're wanting to set up their checkbook control IRA. We do a ton of those. Checkbook IRA LLCs all year, every day, all day. And finally, for the advanced investors, we have an investor doc kit that we actually sell that people can use. It has all the documents in it that we use. So you can set them up yourself and prepare all your documents in-house. We also have podcasts every week. Comes out at least one thing a week. I had some great guests here. Two of our biggest, most watched, Alex and Kelly, who have been on the show with me. And also we have a weekly newsletter.
We started about 3.5 years ago in this space, and it's grown tremendously. And we, know Ray and Oriana, and they are one of our biggest inspirations / supporters, so to speak. So, but we're here. We're really a one-stop shop, and not only that, but we're big on education. So essentially, we're not just going to tell you something that is just, hey, we're going to throw it against the wall and see what's what. And not everybody is big on education, but we'll still educate you along the way. And we're big on the follow-up as well as showing progress reports, so to speak, is what we'll call it. So essentially, if a job is 30 to 45 days, at the end of each week, you'll get a progress report like a video, and then you'll get an actual recap of where your project is along the way. And we can do full furnishing and everything. So.
Hey, good morning, everybody. My name is Dave Dowell. I'm the local owner of Next Door Photos Orlando and Space Coast. And I just want to reiterate a couple things that were set up here. So, marketing is super important in terms of getting the right people to your properties, but also getting the best long return in terms of that person coming in there. So you want to market with really great photos. We can provide that for you. A floor plan was mentioned. Our packages start. It includes like $160. It includes 25 photos and a floor plan. So really easy to help market your property. We also offer 3D tours. Excited to be a new preferred partner with Padsplit. We do have locations in Fort Myers, Tampa, Orlando, Space Coast, and Jacksonville. And so if any of you have anything in that area, we'd love to help you out.
Wow, what an amazing event it was today. People that were here that attended in this room got tons of knowledge on Padsplit. If you want to get into Padsplit, make sure first you like and subscribe to my YouTube channel and click the link below in the description to become a Padsplit host today.